My name is Maya Chen, and I'm about to tell you how I discovered my dead father was secretly a multimillionaire. But here's the twist, he let everyone think we were broke, including me. For 28 years, I believed we struggled. I believed every dollar mattered. I believed my father was just a hard-working mechanic trying to keep us afloat. I was so wrong. And the day I found out, my entire family turned into strangers right in front of my eyes. I'm talking about screaming matches in a lawyer's office, death threats over text messages, relatives I'd known my whole life suddenly treating me like I'd stolen from them, all because of a will reading that lasted 47 minutes. 47 minutes that destroyed every relationship I thought I had, but also 47 minutes that revealed the most incredible gift my father ever gave me. And it wasn't the money. See, what happened in that conference room wasn't just about inheritance. It was about a test my father had been running for 30 years. A test that every single family member failed, except me. And I didn't even know I was being tested. Here's what you're about to discover. First, how my father secretly built a $12 million empire while wearing thrift store clothes and driving a rust bucket. Second, why he hid it from everyone, even his own daughter. And third, the revenge moment that nobody saw coming, the recordings, the documents, the proof that exposed exactly who my family really was. This isn't just a story about money. This is about betrayal, karma, and what happens when you finally see people's true faces. Let me show you exactly how this happened. I grew up in a small house in Canton, Ohio. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, carpet that was old when we moved in. My father, Robert Chen, worked at Davidson's auto shop 6 days a week. Same blue coveralls every day. Hands permanently stained with grease that never fully washed out. My mom died when I was 16. Cancer. After that, it was just Dad and me. We didn't have much. Or at least, that's what I thought. Dad drove a 1997 Ford F-150 with rust eating through the wheel wells. The radio only worked on AM stations. The heater took 20 minutes to warm up in winter. I wore hand-me-downs from my cousin Rachel. We shopped at Goodwill every Saturday. Our big splurge was Pizza Hut once a month. Christmas meant one gift. Birthdays meant homemade cake and maybe $20. I never complained because Dad worked so hard. I saw him leave at 7 every morning. I saw him come home exhausted at 6 every evening. That was our life. Simple, quiet, normal. But here's the first weird thing I didn't notice until later. Dad never seemed stressed about money. Bills arrived, and he paid them without the panic I saw in my friends' parents. When my car broke down in college, he fixed it immediately. When I needed help with tuition, he covered it without hesitation. I just thought he was good at budgeting. I had no idea. Dad died on October 3rd. Sudden heart attack at the shop. He was 64 years old. The funeral was packed. Coworkers, neighbors, people from church. Everyone talked about what a good man he was. How humble, how generous with his time. My Aunt Marie even started a GoFundMe to help Maya with expenses. That should have been my first clue. Why did we need a GoFundMe? I had a job. Dad had life insurance, right? 2 weeks after the funeral, I got a call from a lawyer named Henry Peterson. Miss Chen, I need you to come to my office. It's regarding your father's estate. Estate? I laughed. Dad worked at an auto shop. There's no estate. There was a long pause. Miss Chen, please come to my office. Tuesday at 2 p.m. And please, don't discuss this with family members yet. The way he said it sent chills down my spine. When I arrived at his office that Tuesday, the waiting room was full. Aunt Marie, Uncle Frank, Uncle Jim and his wife Linda, my cousins Rachel and Tom. Even my dad's brother David, who I'd met exactly twice in my entire life. Everyone was dressed up. Marie wore pearls. Frank had on a suit. They all stared at me when I walked in. Maya. Marie jumped up and hugged me. Oh honey, we're all here to support you through this. Support me? They hadn't called me once since the funeral. Uncle Frank patted my shoulder. Family takes care of family. I felt confused, uncomfortable. Mr. Peterson's assistant called us into the conference room. It was a long table. Leather chairs. Big windows overlooking downtown Canton. Everyone sat down. Marie positioned herself right next to me. Tom sat across from me, smiling like we were about to watch a movie. Mr. Peterson walked in carrying 3 folders and a leather briefcase. He sat down, adjusted his glasses, looked directly at me. Miss Chen, before we begin, I need to tell you something about your father. My heart started pounding. Your father was a very wealthy man. The room went silent. Now here's where things get really interesting. What? I whispered. Mr. Peterson opened the first folder and slid a document across the table to me. It was a portfolio summary from Merrill Lynch. The number at the bottom had so many zeros I couldn't process it at first. $12,847,000. $12 million. That's impossible, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. My dad was a mechanic. He was, Mr. Peterson confirmed. But he was also a landlord, investor, and business owner. Aunt Marie grabbed the document from my hands. Her eyes went wide. 12 million? Robert had $12 million? Where did he get this? Uncle Frank demanded. This has to be a mistake. Mr. Peterson remained calm. No mistake. Robert Chen spent 32 years carefully building this wealth through real estate investments, stock portfolios, and business ventures. Uncle Jim leaned forward. Business ventures? He fixed cars. He owned 7 rental properties across Ohio and Pennsylvania, Mr. Peterson continued. He held significant stock in 4 private companies. He maintained 3 investment accounts managed conservatively since 1993. My brain couldn't catch up. 7 properties? Stock portfolios? Since 1993? That was the year I was born. This is insane, Rachel said. Uncle Robert lived like he was poor. He chose to live modestly, Mr. Peterson corrected. There's a difference. My hands were shaking. I looked at the document again. Real numbers, real accounts, real money. Why? I asked. Why would he live like that if he had all this? Mr. Peterson pulled an envelope from his briefcase. My name was written on it in Dad's handwriting. He left you this. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter. 2 pages. Handwritten. I started reading out loud without thinking. Maya, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for the shock, baby girl. But you need to understand why I lived the way we did. My voice cracked. Marie put her hand on my shoulder, but it felt wrong. Performative. When I came to America at 23, I had $200 in one suitcase. I worked 3 jobs, dishwasher, warehouse, gas station night shift. I slept 4 hours a night. I saved every penny. I watched men around me blow their paychecks on cars they couldn't afford and clothes to impress people who didn't matter. I decided right then, I would never be broke again. Never. So I saved. I learned. I invested. I bought my first rental property for $28,000 in 1994. Fixed it myself. Rented it out. Bought another. Then another. I read library books about stocks. I watched markets. I learned. By the time you were 10, I had made my first million. By the time you were 20, I had made 7 million. I stopped reading. Looked up. Everyone was staring at me. Keep going, Marie said softly. But I also watched what money did to families. I saw my own brother stop talking to our parents over $5,000. I saw cousins turn into enemies over inheritance. I saw children become lazy, entitled, useless. I didn't want that for you. So I hid it. I lived simply. I wanted you to learn what hard work meant. What struggle felt like. What it meant to earn things with your own hands. I wanted you to build character before you ever had wealth. Because wealth without character is a curse. Character without wealth is just potential waiting. Together, they're power. Tears blurred my vision. The people in that room with you right now, they're going to have strong reactions. Watch them carefully. Watch who gets angry, who gets demanding, who feels entitled to something they never earned. Their reactions will tell you everything you need to know about who they really are. Oh my God. Dad knew. He knew exactly what would happen. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. The will is very specific. All properties, investments, and accounts transfer solely to Maya Chen. There are charitable designations, which I'll explain later. But no direct bequests to extended family. Uncle Frank stood up so fast his chair scraped across the floor. Nothing? I'm his brother. We're blood. You haven't spoken to him in 12 years, I said quietly. His face turned red. That's different. Sit down, Frank, Uncle Jim said. But Frank didn't sit. This is bullshit. She's 28 years old. She doesn't know how to handle this kind of money. Aunt Marie's voice became sugary sweet. Honey, he's right. We're not saying you don't deserve it. We're family. We should manage this together. Together. 2 hours ago, she was running a GoFundMe claiming I needed help with expenses. Now she wanted to manage $12 million together. Tom leaned in. Maya, come on. Be reasonable. We're family. Family shares. I thought about every birthday they'd missed. Every holiday invitation they'd declined. Every time Dad and I had been alone while they were too busy. My father was very clear, I said. Marie's mask slipped for just a second. Her smile tightened. Well, we'll see about that. Wills can be contested. On what grounds? Mr. Peterson asked. His voice was ice. Mental incapacity. Undue influence. She looked at me. Maybe Maya manipulated him at the end. The accusation hit like a slap. Get out, I said. Excuse me? Get out of this room. All of you. Uncle David spoke for the first time. Maya, let's not be hasty. You've met me twice in 28 years. You didn't come to my mom's funeral. You didn't call when Dad died. You're here for money. Just money. He had the decency to look ashamed. But Marie didn't. You're making a mistake. You're young. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. And my father understood too. That's why he left you nothing. The room erupted. People talking over each other. Accusations. Threats. Promises. Mr. Peterson stood. This meeting is over. Maya, please stay. Everyone else, leave now or I'll call security. They left. But not quietly. Marie pointed at me from the doorway. This isn't over. The door slammed. I sat there shaking. Mr. Peterson sat back down across from me. Your father predicted that reaction exactly, he said gently. Word for word. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. After everyone left, Mr. Peterson poured me water from a pitcher on the side table. My hands shook as I drank. There's more, he said. More? How could there possibly be more? He pulled out a second folder. This one was thick. Really thick. Your father didn't just build wealth, Maya. He documented everything. Every interaction with family. Every request for money. Every conversation. For 30 years. He slid the folder across. Inside were journals. Small notebooks with dates on the covers. 27 of them. I opened one at random. The date was June 2015. Marie called today. Asked for $3,000 for Rachel's summer camp. I offered to pay the camp directly. She got angry. Said she needed cash for other expenses too. I declined. She called me selfish and hung up. Haven't heard from her since. Another entry from March 2017. Frank showed up drunk. Demanded $10,000 for a business opportunity. Couldn't explain what the business was. When I said no, he called me a greedy bastard. Told me I was hoarding money while family struggled. He doesn't know I paid his mortgage twice last year when he was about to lose his house. I sent the money anonymously through the bank. He thinks he got lucky with a payment plan. He never thanked anyone. Just assumed it was owed to him. My stomach twisted. Entry after entry showed the same pattern. Family members asking for money. Getting angry when Dad set boundaries. Disappearing until they needed something else. But here's what broke my heart. Dad had helped them. Constantly. Secretly. Medical bills paid anonymously. Rent covered through church donations. Car repairs done, for free, when Dad had actually paid the shop owner himself. He'd tested them over and over. And they'd failed every single time. I found an entry about my 16th birthday. The year Mom died. Invited family to Maya's birthday. Small gathering, just cake and her favorite meal. Marie said she had a previous commitment. Jim said work was too busy. Frank didn't respond. David didn't even open the message. Maya tried to hide how hurt she was. She made jokes about keeping it small. But I saw her face when she checked her phone hoping someone would show up. They don't deserve to know about the money. They don't deserve to know about anything. Tears streamed down my face. I'd thought they stayed away because we were poor. Because we couldn't host fancy parties or give expensive gifts. But that wasn't it at all. They just didn't care. Unless they needed something. Mr. Peterson handed me tissues. Your father also documented you. Your choices. Your character. He gave me another envelope. Larger than the first. Inside were letters. 28 of them. One for every year since I was born. Letters he'd written but never sent. I opened the one from my 18th birthday. Maya got into Ohio State. Full ride academic scholarship. When I offered to help with housing costs, she said no. She wanted to work part-time and earn it herself. She has no idea I'm a millionaire. She just wants to make me proud by doing it on her own. Mission accomplished, sweetheart. I couldn't stop crying. Another from age 21. Maya's car broke down. Major transmission issue. $2,800 repair. She called me panicking, asking if I could loan her $1,000 and she'd pay me back $50 a month. I said yes. She's been paying me back every month for 9 months. Hasn't missed a single payment. The $1,000 is in a savings account I opened for her. She'll get it back with interest someday. She thinks she's in debt to me. I think she's showing me who she is. And I'm so damn proud. Letter after letter showed Dad watching me, documenting my choices, my character, my values. One from last year caught my attention. Maya's coworker Sarah lost her apartment in a fire. Maya organized a fundraiser at work. She donated her entire $1,200 Christmas bonus. She thought I didn't know. Sarah's mother called me in tears thanking me for raising such a kind daughter. I told her Maya did that all on her own. She's everything I hoped she'd be. Everything they're not. She's ready. The final letter was dated 1 week before he died. My Maya, if you're reading these, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you face to face. I'm sorry for all the secrets. But you need to know, you passed. Every test life threw at you. Every moment when you could have been selfish, cruel, or entitled. You chose differently. Not because you knew you'd inherit money someday. Because that's who you are. The money is yours. All of it. Use it wisely. Build something meaningful. Help people quietly, the way I did. Don't let them make you feel guilty. The ones who are angry today, they'll get worse before they get better. Some will never get better. That's okay. You don't need them. Keep living simply. Stay humble. Remember where you came from. And Maya, don't let wealth change your heart. That's the real test. Can you have money and still be you? I know you can. Because I raised you right. I love you forever. Even from wherever I am now. Dad. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Just cried into my hands while Mr. Peterson sat quietly. After a few minutes, he spoke again. There's one more thing you should see. He pulled out a legal document. It was titled, Outstanding Loans to Family Members. What is this? Your father kept records of every penny he gave to family members over 30 years. He documented it all as loans, not gifts. Legally witnessed and notarized. The list was shocking. Marie, $247,000 over 18 years. Frank, $183,000 over 22 years. Jim, $94,000 over 12 years. David, $41,000 over 8 years. The total exceeded $800,000. This is dated and signed? I asked. Every transaction. I witnessed most of them myself. Your father was very careful. Why would he do this? Mr. Peterson looked at me seriously. Protection. If any family member challenges the will or tries to sue you for inheritance, this document allows the estate to countersue for loan repayment plus interest. So if Marie contests the will, she'd owe $247,000 plus compound interest. That's roughly $390,000 in total. It was genius. Brutal, but genius. Dad had built a financial nuclear option. One that would bankrupt anyone who tried to take what he'd left me. He thought of everything, I whispered. He had 30 years to plan, Mr. Peterson said. And he loved you enough to do it right. I sat in that conference room for another hour going through documents. Property deeds, investment statements, business contracts. My father, who I'd watched eat ramen noodles for lunch, owned a 4-unit apartment building in Cleveland. The monthly rental income was $6,800. My father, who I'd seen change his own oil to save $30, had $3.2 million in blue-chip stocks. My father, who wore thrift store shirts, had invested in a medical supply company in 2008 that had grown 400%. He'd been a financial genius operating in complete silence. And he'd protected me from everyone who would have destroyed me if they'd known. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. I went home that night and couldn't sleep. The next morning, my phone exploded. Texts from Marie, voicemails from Frank, messages from cousins I hadn't talked to in years. All of them suddenly very concerned about me, very interested in my well-being, very eager to help me through this difficult time. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I drove to Dad's house. The small two-bedroom where we'd lived together after Mom died. Where I'd grown up thinking we were barely scraping by. I had keys. The house was mine now, along with everything else. I walked through slowly. Living room with the old couch Dad refused to replace. Kitchen with the table where we'd eaten dinner every night. His bedroom, still smelling faintly of his cologne. In his closet, behind winter coats and work boots, I found something unusual. A locked filing cabinet I'd never noticed before. Mr. Peterson had given me all of Dad's keys. I tried 3 before one worked. The cabinet opened. Inside were more folders, more documents, but also something that made my blood run cold. A video camera, old model, probably 10 years old, and a box of tapes. Dozens of them, each labeled with dates and names. Marie, December 2019. Frank, July 2018. Jim Linda, November 2020. Rachel, March 2021. What the hell? My hands shook as I set up the camera and loaded the first tape. Dad appeared on screen. He looked younger, less gray. Maya, if you're watching this, you've found the cabinet. Good. You need to see what I'm about to show you. He looked sad, tired. These tapes are recordings of your family. Conversations they had when they thought no one was listening. Conversations that show you exactly who they are. The video cut to a different scene. A living room I didn't recognize. Through a window, I could see inside. It was Christmas. A tree. Decorations. Family gathered around. This is Marie's house, Dad's voice narrated. Christmas 2019. She invited everyone. Except us. Remember? You asked why we weren't invited. I told you they were keeping it small. I remembered. I'd been hurt but tried not to show it. Through the window, I could see them. Marie, Frank, Jim, Linda, Rachel, Tom. All laughing. Opening presents. Eating. Having the family Christmas we weren't invited to. Dad's voice continued. I came to drop off gifts for the kids. I heard them through the open window. The audio quality was poor, but I could hear voices. Marie's voice came through clear. I don't understand Robert. Living like he's destitute when he could at least try to look normal. Frank laughed. He's always been weird. Probably squirrels away every penny like he's going to live forever. And that daughter of his, Marie continued. Going to community college first? She could have tried harder. Could have gone straight to a real school. My stomach dropped. Jim's voice joined in. Robert's wasted potential. Could have been something. Instead, he's a grease monkey who can barely afford Christmas gifts. They were laughing. Mocking Dad. Mocking me. While Dad stood outside in the cold, holding presents for their kids. The video cut back to Dad's face. I left the gifts on the porch. I never told them I heard. But I documented it. The next tape was worse. Frank, July 2018. Uncle Frank at a bar with friends. Dad must have been there too, somewhere out of frame. Frank's voice boomed. My brother's an embarrassment. Works with his hands like he's still in the old country. Our parents would be ashamed. One of his friends asked, doesn't he help you out sometimes? Frank scoffed. With pocket change, maybe. But he's got nothing real. I've bailed him out more times than I can count. It was a complete lie. According to the legal documents, Dad had paid Frank's mortgage. Twice. Covered his car payment for 6 months. Paid off his credit card debt. And Frank was telling people he had bailed Dad out. I watched tape after tape. Each one showed family members trash-talking Dad. Lying about him. Pretending he was a burden while he quietly paid their bills and fixed their problems. Rachel, March 2021. My cousin Rachel talking to a friend at a coffee shop. My uncle is so weird. Lives like he's poor. It's honestly embarrassing. My mom has to help him out constantly. Help him out? Marie had borrowed over $200,000 from Dad over 18 years. Help him out? The final family tape was Family Gathering, August 2022. A backyard barbecue. Everyone there except Dad and me. I heard Uncle Jim ask, "Where's Robert?" Marie answered, "I didn't invite him. He brings the mood down. Always so serious. Never any fun." "And the girl?" someone asked. "Maya? She's fine. Just, nothing special. Robert did his best, I guess. Nothing special." From a woman whose daughter's college tuition Dad had secretly paid half of. I sat on Dad's bedroom floor surrounded by tapes, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. This was my family. These were the people I'd loved. Defended. Made excuses for when they didn't show up. And they'd spent years mocking us. Lying about us. using us. But there was one more tape in the box. It was labeled differently. Maya, Compilation 2023. I loaded it with shaking hands. The video showed me different locations, different times. All moments I didn't know Dad had witnessed. The first clip showed me at a grocery store parking lot. An elderly woman had dropped her bags. I helped her pick everything up, carried them to her car, and refused a tip. Dad's voice narrated quietly. June 2023. She doesn't know I'm here. She's always like this when no one's watching. The next clip showed me at a park. A homeless man was sitting on a bench. I bought him lunch from a food truck, sat with him, talked for 20 minutes. July 2023. She spent her lunch break with him. Treated him like a human. Like he mattered. Another clip from a coffee shop. A single mom in line in front of me couldn't afford her order. I paid for it without making a big deal. August 2023. She did this without thinking. Just saw someone who needed help and helped. That's who she is. The final clip was from September, just weeks before Dad died. I was at his house. We were eating dinner. I'd brought groceries and cooked. The camera showed us laughing at something. Talking about my work. Dad asking about my life. This is my daughter, Dad's voice said. This is the person I raised. Good, kind, real. The video zoomed in on my face. Everything I built, every penny I saved, every sacrifice I made, it was for this moment. For her. She's ready. She's better than all of them combined. And she doesn't even know it yet. The video ended. I sobbed alone in that empty house for an hour. Dad had been watching everyone. Testing everyone. Protecting me from discovering the truth until I was strong enough to handle it. And he'd left me proof. Undeniable proof of who everyone really was. But there was still one more thing in the filing cabinet. An envelope marked, Final Instructions, open only if they won't stop. Inside was a letter and a USB drive. The letter was short. Maya, if you're reading this, they've pushed you too far. They've threatened, manipulated, or tried to hurt you. The USB drive contains all the recordings, all the evidence, all the proof. You have two choices. 1. Ignore them. Live your life. Let their anger fade into irrelevance. 2. If they escalate legally or publicly, give the USB drive to Mr. Peterson. He knows what to do with it. I prefer option 1. Living well is the best revenge. Success is the ultimate silence. But I'm giving you option 2 just in case. Because I won't be there to protect you anymore. So I'm protecting you now, from beyond. Choose wisely. Love, Dad. My father had created a nuclear option. Legal documentation of loans. Video proof of their betrayal. Evidence of decades of lies. He'd spent 30 years building a fortress around me. And he'd done it so quietly, so carefully, that no one ever saw it coming. So what does all this mean for us today? I sat in Dad's house for 3 hours that day, processing everything. The money was one thing. $12 million changes anyone's life. But the knowledge? The proof? The documented evidence of 30 years of family betrayal? That changed everything. Here's what I learned about people, money, and family dynamics that I need you to understand. First, money doesn't create character. It reveals it. Aunt Marie had always been judgmental. I just never noticed because we seemed beneath her judgment. Uncle Frank had always been a liar. I just never caught him because his lies were small. My cousins had always been shallow. I just never saw it because they didn't bother to hide it from poor Maya. The moment Mr. Peterson announced the inheritance, every mask fell off. Sweet Aunt Marie became demanding. Protective, Uncle Frank became aggressive. Caring, cousins became calculating. They revealed exactly who they'd always been. I just never had a reason to see it clearly before. Second, character shows most clearly when nobody's watching. Dad recorded me at the grocery store, at the park, at the coffee shop. Moments when I didn't know anyone was looking. When there was no reward, no recognition, no benefit to being kind. That's the real test of who you are. Not how you act at family gatherings when people are watching. Not how you behave when there's something to gain. But how you treat the homeless man, the struggling single mom, the elderly woman who dropped her groceries. Those moments define you. Third, living below your means is power. Dad had millions. He could have bought a mansion. Could have driven a Mercedes. Could have worn designer clothes. He chose simplicity instead. Because simplicity kept him grounded. Kept others from treating him transactionally. kept me from becoming entitled. The wealth was a tool, not an identity. That's wisdom most rich people never learn. They need the status symbols. Need everyone to know they're wealthy. Need the recognition. Dad understood that real power whispers. It doesn't shout. Fourth, preparation is the deepest form of love. Dad didn't just leave me money. He left me documentation, evidence, legal protection, moral clarity. He knew exactly what would happen at that will reading. He predicted every reaction, every threat, every manipulation attempt. And he prepared me for all of it, not by shielding me from reality, but by giving me the tools to handle it myself. That's what real parents do. They don't protect their kids from every hardship. They prepare them to face it. Fifth, some relationships are transactional and always were. This hurt the most. I thought my family loved me. I thought they cared about Dad. The journals and tapes proved otherwise. They showed up when they needed money. They disappeared when we needed them. They mocked us behind our backs. They lied about their connections to us. The relationship was always transactional. I just didn't want to see it. The inheritance made it impossible to ignore. Now here's what happened after I found the tapes. I made a decision. I followed Dad's advice from his letter. Option 1. Ignore them. Let their anger fade into irrelevance. I didn't respond to texts. Didn't return calls. Didn't engage. I hired a financial advisor, someone Mr. Peterson recommended who Dad had vetted years ago. We created a conservative plan. The rental income would cover my living expenses completely. The investments would compound untouched for 20 years. I'd keep working my normal job. Nothing about my external life changed. I kept my apartment, kept my 10-year-old Honda, kept shopping at Target and meal prepping on Sundays. But internally, everything shifted. I felt secure for the first time in my life. Not because of the money itself, but because of what it represented. Dad's protection, his faith in me, his belief that I could handle this responsibility. 2 weeks after the cabinet discovery, Aunt Marie called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. Maya, sweetheart, I've been thinking. We got off on the wrong foot. I was surprised, that's all. We should talk. Family is family. Call me back. I didn't. She called again 3 days later. Then 5 days after that. Her messages got progressively less sweet and more demanding. Finally, she sent a text. If you don't respond, I'll have no choice but to contest the will. Uncle Robert clearly wasn't thinking straight at the end. That's when I made my second call to Mr. Peterson. She's threatening to contest based on mental incapacity, I told him. I expected this. How do you want to handle it? Send her the loan repayment document. Let her know that if she contests, the estate will countersue for $247,000 plus interest. Are you sure? That's the nuclear option. Dad prepared it for a reason. Mr. Peterson sent the legal notice that afternoon. Marie called me 20 minutes later, screaming, "You're going to sue me? Your own aunt?" "No," I said calmly. "The estate will sue you if you contest the will. Dad documented every penny he gave you as loans. You have a choice. That's blackmail. That's contract law. Dad had you sign loan agreements. You just didn't read them carefully. This was a bluff. Dad had documented everything but hadn't always gotten signatures. But I needed her to back down. You've changed," she hissed. "Money's made you cruel." "No," I said. "Money's let me finally see who you really are. We're done here." I hung up. She never called again. Uncle Frank tried a different approach. He showed up at my apartment building. I watched him from my window. He pounded on the main door. Yelled about family loyalty. I didn't go down. Instead, I called Mr. Peterson. He sent Frank a legal notice about his $183,000 in outstanding loans plus a cease and desist order for harassment. Frank left. I never saw him again. My cousins tried guilt tactics. Long messages about how disappointed Dad would be. How family should stick together. How I was betraying everyone. I blocked their numbers. Within 6 weeks, all contact stopped. They realized I wasn't going to bend. Wasn't going to share. Wasn't going to feel guilty for following Dad's explicit wishes. But something unexpected happened. Other people in my life reacted completely differently. My coworker Sarah, the one whose apartment burned down, reached out when she heard through mutual friends about the inheritance. She sent a simple text. "I heard about your dad. I'm so sorry for your loss. He raised an incredible person. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." That was it. No request for money. No sudden interest in being closer friends. Just genuine condolence. My college roommate Jennifer called. Hey, I heard you inherited something. That's got to be overwhelming. Want to grab coffee and just talk about normal stuff? Normal stuff. Not the money. Not what I was going to do with it. Just friendship. These relationships deepened because they stayed consistent. They cared about Maya the person, not Maya the heiress. And I learned the most important lesson of all. The people worth keeping don't change when your circumstances change. They show up the same way whether you're broke or wealthy. Everyone else is just passing through. Dad knew that. He spent 30 years testing everyone around him. And he left me the results of those tests in journals, tapes, and legal documents. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. 6 months after Dad died, I received a package at my apartment. No return address. Postmarked from Canton. Inside was a USB drive and a note in Mr. Peterson's handwriting. Your father left instructions to send this 6 months post-death. You were supposed to have time to process first. HP. I plugged the drive into my laptop. One video file. Dated 2 weeks before Dad died. I clicked play with shaking hands. Dad appeared on screen. He was in his bedroom. He looked thin, tired, but his eyes were sharp. Hello, baby girl. If you're watching this, you've survived the hardest part. The will reading, the family explosion, the aftermath. His voice cracked slightly. I'm so proud of you. I know I am because I know your character. You're watching this, which means you didn't cave to their pressure. You stood your ground. You protected what I built for you. Tears started immediately. I need to tell you the most important thing. The thing that matters more than any dollar amount in any account. He leaned closer to the camera. The money isn't the point. It never was. I built wealth because I was good at it. Because I wanted to secure your future. Because I never wanted you to struggle the way I did as a young immigrant. But the real inheritance isn't in those bank accounts, Maya. He held up one of his journals. The real inheritance is the person you became while thinking you had nothing. You learned work ethic because you had to. You learned kindness because you understood struggle. You learned generosity because you knew what it meant to be without. If I had raised you wealthy, you wouldn't have learned any of that. His eyes locked onto the camera like he could see me. The money is a tool. But your character is the foundation. Tools without foundation are useless. I watched you build that foundation. Year after year, choice after choice. When you helped that elderly woman. When you sat with that homeless man. When you paid for that single mom's coffee. You did those things when no one was watching. When there was no reward. When it would have been easier to just walk by. That's who you are. That's what I raised. That's my real legacy. He set the journal down. Now here's what I want you to do with this wealth. First, live simply. Don't let money change your daily life. Keep working if it gives you purpose. Stay grounded. Stay yourself. Second, help people quietly. Like I did. Don't announce it. Don't seek credit. Just help when you see genuine need. Third, build something meaningful. Not just for yourself. For others. Create opportunity. Generate impact. Fourth, when you have children someday, and I hope you do, don't tell them about the money until they're ready. Let them learn what you learned. Let them build character first. His voice got emotional. Because wealth without character is dangerous. It ruins people. Makes them lazy, entitled, disconnected from reality. Character without wealth is just potential waiting. It's beautiful but limited. Together, they're transformative. He stood up, preparing to end the recording. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you all this in person. I'm sorry for the secrets, the tests, the complicated inheritance. But I'm not sorry for how I did it. You needed to see your family's true nature. You needed to understand what money does to relationships. You needed proof that your character mattered more than anyone's opinion. Now you have all of that. Live well, Maya. Love deeply. Build wisely. And remember, the best revenge isn't confrontation. The best revenge is living so well that other people's opinions become irrelevant. He smiled, sad but proud. You're going to do amazing things. Not because you're my daughter. Not because you inherited money. But because of who you are. Make the world better, baby girl. I know you will. The video ended. I sat frozen for 10 minutes. Then I cried for 30 more. Dad's final message wasn't about money management or investment strategies. It was about becoming the kind of person who could handle wealth with grace. The inheritance wasn't $12 million. The inheritance was the character I'd built while thinking I had nothing. That realization changed my entire perspective. A year later, I started a foundation using investment income, scholarships for first-generation immigrants. The cause Dad cared about most. I ran it anonymously. No press releases, no publicity, just impact. The first recipient was a 19-year-old from Vietnam named Lynn. Single mother, working 2 jobs, going to community college part-time. When I met her to award the scholarship, she cried. "This changes everything," she whispered. "My daughter will see me graduate. She'll know education matters." In that moment, I understood Dad's entire philosophy. Wealth is meaningless unless it creates opportunity for others. Character is everything because it determines how you use that wealth. The family members who demanded inheritance? They would have spent it on cars and vacations and status symbols. I was using it to change lives. That's the difference Dad saw. That's why he chose me. Not because I was perfect, but because I understood what mattered. Today, 2 years after Dad died, my life looks almost identical to before. Same apartment, same car, same job. But I sleep better, I stress less, I help more. The foundation has given out 42 scholarships. We've funded job training for 68 people. We've helped 127 families with emergency expenses. All quietly, all following Dad's example. And the family members who threatened me? Aunt Marie? Haven't heard from her in 18 months. Uncle Frank? I saw him once at a grocery store. He looked away and left quickly. My cousins? They stopped reaching out after I blocked them. I'm completely fine with that. Better than fine. Because the people who matter stayed. Sarah, who texts me funny memes and never asks about money. Jennifer, who invites me to game nights and treats me exactly the same. My mentor from work, who gives me career advice and pushes me to grow. These relationships deepened because they were real. Everyone else was just background noise. That's Dad's final gift. The ability to distinguish between real connection and transactional relationship. And once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. Your life becomes simpler, quieter, more authentic. You stop wasting energy on people who don't value you. You invest in relationships that matter. That's true wealth. The kind no bank account can measure. If this opened your eyes, stay with me for what comes next. So that's my story. The will reading that exposed everything. The family betrayal that opened my eyes. The revenge that came simply through living right and staying true to myself. Let me give you the 4 biggest takeaways. 1. Money reveals character, it doesn't create it. My family's true nature came out the second wealth appeared. Your real relationships are the ones that stay consistent whether you're broke or wealthy. 2. Living below your means is genuine power. Dad had millions but lived modestly. That simplicity kept him grounded and protected me from entitlement. 3. The best inheritance is character plus resources. Dad didn't just leave me money, he left me the character to handle it wisely through years of learning what real struggle meant. 4. Success is the ultimate silence. I didn't need to confront anyone. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to live well enough that their opinions became irrelevant. Now I want to be real with you for a minute. I'm sharing this story because I know I'm not alone. Some of you watching this have experienced family betrayal. Maybe not over inheritance. Maybe over success, or opportunities, or relationships. You know what it feels like when people you trusted show their true colors. It hurts. Deeply. It changes how you see the world. But here's what I learned. That pain is actually information. It tells you who deserves your energy. It clarifies your path forward. It forces you to build boundaries that protect your peace. And once you clear out the fake relationships, you make room for real ones. That's where I am now. Fewer relationships. Better relationships. Real relationships. Quality over quantity. Always. If you're in the middle of something similar, family drama, sudden wealth, toxic relationships, here's my advice. Trust what you're seeing. Document if you need to. Protect yourself legally and emotionally. And know that living well is genuinely the best revenge. Not living wealthy. Living well. With integrity. With purpose. With values that don't shift based on your bank balance. That's the real win. Now, before we end, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment answering this. If you inherited money tomorrow, who in your life would show their true colors first? Be honest. Think about it. Who would suddenly be concerned about you? Who would feel entitled to a piece? Who would stay exactly the same? That mental exercise tells you everything about your current relationships. I read every single comment. And I respond to as many as I can. This community is built on real conversations about real family dynamics. Second thing, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I share stories like this regularly. Family secrets, hidden wealth, betrayal, the karma moments that restore balance. If this story resonated with you, there's more coming that you won't want to miss. Third, I've got a video linked in the description about another inheritance situation with an even wilder twist. It involves a secret second family, a hidden child, and a wife who thought she knew everything. Trust me, you need to see how that one played out. Fourth, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone dealing with family drama. Maybe someone who just inherited money and doesn't know how to handle sudden attention. Maybe someone who needs validation that their boundaries are justified. This story resonates because it's emotionally true. These dynamics play out in families everywhere. Now let me tell you where I am today, 3 years later. I still work my regular job. I'm a project manager at a manufacturing company. It gives me purpose and keeps me connected to normal life. My apartment is still modest. 1 bedroom, clean but simple. My car is still that Honda. It's paid off and runs great. No reason to change it. But here's what's different. I sleep without anxiety. I have complete financial security. I'm building something meaningful through the foundation. The scholarship fund has grown. We've expanded to job placement services. We're partnering with community colleges. Last month, one of our first recipients graduated. Lynn, the single mom from Vietnam. She got her associate's degree. Found a job in healthcare administration. Her daughter was front row at graduation holding a sign that said, "My mommy did it." Lynn found me afterward. She hugged me and whispered, "You changed our lives. Both of our lives." That moment meant more than any dollar figure in any account. That's what Dad understood. That's what he wanted me to learn. Wealth is a tool for creating opportunity. Nothing more, nothing less. The family members who demanded money would have bought jet skis and trips to Vegas. I'm funding education and changing generational patterns. That's the difference Dad saw in me. Not that I was special, but that I understood what actually mattered. You know what's wild? Sometimes I still catch myself living like I did before. Clipping coupons, checking sale prices, reusing Ziploc bags. My financial advisor laughs at me. "Maya, you have $12 million. You can buy name brand cereal. But I don't want to." Those habits keep me grounded. They remind me where I came from. Dad lived with millions while driving a rusted truck. I can live with millions while shopping at Aldi. There's freedom in that. Freedom from needing to prove anything to anyone. Last month, I ran into an old family friend at Target. She knew about the inheritance through the small town gossip network. She looked at my cart, generic brands, discount items, and said, "Honey, you can afford better than this now." I smiled. I know, but why would I? This stuff works just fine. She didn't understand. Most people wouldn't. But Dad would have. He would have been proud. Because I learned the lesson he spent 30 years teaching. Wealth whispers. Character shouts. And the people who truly matter don't care about your bank balance. Here's something I haven't told anyone publicly. I kept one of Dad's work shirts. The blue coverall he wore to the shop every day. It hangs in my closet. Still has his name patch. Still smells faintly like motor oil and laundry detergent. Sometimes when I'm making big decisions about the foundation or handling investment choices, I look at that shirt. It reminds me who raised me. What he valued. Why he did everything the way he did. That shirt is worth more to me than any property or stock. Because it represents the man who chose character over comfort. Who chose my future over his present. Who loved me enough to make hard decisions that I wouldn't understand until he was gone. I miss him every day. But I feel him in every choice I make. Especially when I choose simplicity. When I help someone quietly. When I set boundaries with people who don't deserve access to me. Those moments, I know he's proud. So here's my final thought for you. Whatever you're dealing with, family drama, toxic relationships, sudden life changes, remember this. Your character is your real inheritance. Everything else is just circumstance. Build that foundation first. Let your values guide your choices. Protect your peace even when others call you selfish. Because living well isn't about what you have. It's about who you are when nobody's watching. When there's nothing to gain. When being kind costs you something. That's the test. That's what Dad tested me on for 28 years. And when I passed, he gave me the resources to do it at scale. But the resources were never the point. The character was. Always. All right, that's my story. The will reading that changed everything. The father who loved me enough to prepare me for wealth by teaching me to live without it. The family that revealed themselves completely. And the life I built by staying true to what he taught me. If this resonated, you know what to do. Subscribe, comment, share, watch what's next. And most importantly, take inventory of your own relationships. Figure out who's real and who's just waiting for an opportunity. That knowledge will protect you more than any amount of money ever could. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to my story. Thanks for being part of this community where we talk about real family dynamics without judgment. I'm Maya Chen, and I'm done letting other people's opinions define my choices. I hope you'll join me in that freedom. See you in the next video.